Good evening and welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, where we discuss the important events that would have taken place in Guyana over the past week or so. And as is the norm, we have a packed agenda of issues to discuss. I want to begin by welcoming all of our television viewers who are joining us from region number 5. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. As we cross the Berbice River, permit me to welcome the Region 6 residents who are joining us on television as well, along the east bank of the Berbice River, New Amsterdam, Kanji, along the Quarantine Coast, and all the way to Oriala and Siparuta. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. To our listeners and viewers who are joining us from Freedom Radio, Rob Street, Georgetown, welcome to another program of Issues in the News. And last but not least, to the thousands of you who are joining us on Facebook Live across the length and breadth of Guyana, the Caribbean, North America, Europe, Asia, Australia, and as far as the Middle East. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. Lily Prasad, Pam Singh, Chade Dwarka Prasad, Charles Guraya, Gobind, Sunilal Batulal, Sonia Mohammed, and so many of you who are already on the Facebook Live. Please press the share button on your phone. Share the live so that all your friends and all your followers can join us in tonight's discussion, and also use the comment section to share your views with us, ask me questions, express yourself. We want this forum to be engaging and interactive. I don't want it to be a monologue. I don't want it to be a one-way street in terms of conversation and engagement. I want to engage as wide and far, and that is why I'm asking you to share the program. Ensure that those who are on your page and on your profile, they also join us in tonight's discussion, and use the comment section to share with us your views, and you are free to pose questions that you may have and issues that you would like me to address. I urge that you be respectful on this program. You don't use abusive or insulting language. Neither do you excite racial hostilities or express terms of racism. I will delete your comment and I will block you from this page if anyone is found doing that. So, we have a lot of things to discuss. The country is still gripped in grief and in shock in relation to the tragic death of Adriana, the young girl from Tushin. The family has appealed for calm and peace. The family has appealed for respect. The family has appealed for persons to respect the process, the funeral process, and allow the funeral to be conducted in dignity. They have appealed for persons not to use the occasion to cause violence and to beat and to cause chaos and confusion. The family said that against the backdrop of what transpired, resulting directly from the tragic death of this young lady. It is now a fact of public notoriety that the death of this young lady has been hijacked by political elements and other rogue elements in society, falling prey to messages and signals, subliminal, expressive, and by implication emanating from politicians and acting upon the reckless encouragements of those politicians, some of them here in Guyana, some of them using the social media platforms from other parts of the world, and encouraging violence, encouraging mayhem, encouraging chaos, encouraging burning and looting, and their encouragements bore fruit. And we saw a manifestation of violence and burning, looting, violent destruction of property, mayhem across the public roadways of our country, inconveniencing tens of thousands of people. Fire lit along the public roadways. People were assaulted, people were beaten, private and public properties destroyed. All of that we experienced. None of which can do any good for either the family of Adriana Young or her memory or legacy. The persons who perpetrated these acts of terror, I know, they don't care anything about this young lady. They don't care anything about this family. They saw an opportunity. The intellectual authors and the executioners, they saw an opportunity. The intellectual authors obviously using suave, using prevarications, and using emotional strategies, expressed their pain and their anguish and their sympathies, while on the other hand, they were quietly and strategically unleashing a plan for the mayhem and the terrorism to which I am referring. And that is what we saw. And that is what we witnessed, and that is what we endured as a nation. You know, and I don't want to spend valuable time on the program to cover matters that have already been covered. You know that there was a post-mortem. You know that 3 pathologists of international standing attended that examination. You know that one of them was directly chosen by relatives of the family. You know that a medical doctor representing the interest of the family was present at the post-mortem examination. You know that a lawyer representing the family was at the post-mortem examination. You know that the post-mortem was thorough and comprehensive because those descriptions came from both the doctors, the doctor of the family, and the lawyer from the family, or of the family. The family themselves spoke on the matter. You know what the findings of the post-mortem are or were. It is that the person, Adriana Young, died of drowning. The government has committed to a professional and comprehensive investigation. One leg, an important leg of it, has been completed. We have determined, or the qualified persons have determined what the cause of death is, or was. But there is another aspect of the investigation that must continue to find out now the manner of the death. Nobody disputing that. That has to be investigated thoroughly and objectively and professionally, and the government is committed to that. But in the meanwhile, the politicians who are intellectually bankrupt, who do not have a track record of achievements, who are facing certain electoral defeat because they can't sensibly respond to the government's accomplishments. They have none of their own to which they can refer. They don't even have a plan that is alternative to the government for the development of the country. And therefore, against that state of political bankruptcy, this opportunity, unfortunately for the rest of the country, but fortunately for them, presents them with a platform. And they have exploited it to the hilt. And that is my analysis of what has unfolded. And it continues to unfold. So the funeral was planned for Monday, we were told. It was a national holiday, and we were informed that the funeral will take place on that day. Unfortunately, the nation was informed that the funeral is going to be postponed. But before that public announcement came from the family, we saw we saw many things were taking place in the public domain and away from the public eye. There were a lot of underground work being done, undercurrents being done, a lot of planning, a lot of strategizing among the same intellectual authors. They started to doubt the forensic examination that everyone accepted. They started to question that. I am told that they tried to bring in a fourth pathologist from the Caribbean, and in fact, the man may have come here, I'm not sure, but it would appear, based upon what I have read in the public domain, the family shut down that and then issued this appeal for calm and peace at the funeral. So they were working assiduously. They were working assiduously to destabilize the stability that had returned after the fiery night of last Monday and Tuesday. They were not content. So I'm going to deal with different facets of it. So they jumped on the bandwagon that a forensic examination now, done by 3 internationally acclaimed and respected and highly decorated pathologists, 2 from the United States and 1 from India but resident in the Caribbean. Nobody can question these people's qualifications. One of them invited by the doctor, by the family, and who are very thorough. Doctor, family lawyer were high in praises of these people. But they couldn't allow that because that did not meet their expectations. The death by drowning doesn't suit their political narrative. That will not allow them to cause the chaos that they want to cause. It will not give them the platform to continue to unleash the violence. One of them in the United States calling the violence, the fire that is burning the roads, as torches of freedom. One of them also, the same one, calling those people, the marauding gangs, freedom fighters. That they were fighting for freedom. And he said that the victims must take what they get in their behind. He has no sympathy with them. He stands firmly with the criminals. He stands firmly with the scrapes. That's his position. His position was reflected by another grouping who held a press conference on the 1st of May, I think, somewhere in the vicinity of Tushin. Number of political leaders there. And they spoke. And they took the side. You had two sides to take. You had a side. You could have either taken the side of law and order and condemned what has happened, or you take a side with lawlessness, take the side of those who perpetrated it. And they chose that side, and that's widely reported. So you had all of these undercurrents going on. So the attempts of getting a fourth post-mortem, apparently that failed. I believe the family rejected it. But they didn't give up. They continued to persevere, working in the background, confusing people. Then they, Nigel Hughes then posted at 7 o'clock, close to 7 o'clock on his page, Sunday evening. The funeral is scheduled to take place Monday. At 7 o'clock in the evening, about that time, he posted a long epistle on his Facebook page. Obviously, in the normal course of things, extending sympathies and evoking the relevant emotions and so on. All the appropriate trappings were contained in this epistle published on his page. And then he says this: it has come to our attention that there are plans by certain individuals and organizations to disrupt the funeral proceedings and instigate violence with the intent of blaming innocent mourners. That is on his page. Of course, he says, such actions are unacceptable and will not be tolerated. And then he calls on all Guyanese to reject any attempts to exploit this solemn occasion for chaos or political gain. I tell you, all the right languages are there. All the right expression is there. The right tone is there. But the incendiary parts are also inserted. And then he lists a number of measures to tell you what you must do when this funeral is perpetrated by the criminal elements that he says he has information about. It has come to our attention that there are plans, so he has information that there are plans by certain individuals and organizations. When I saw this, I was at a community meeting at Chatamargo on the east coast of Demerara with the vice president. And immediately I responded. And I urge Mr. Hughes, if this is the information you have, please make it available to the Guyana Police Force. Because having regard to what has happened, in relation to this very death. What Mr. Hughes is confessing he has information about, and the type of information that he professes to be in possession of, are not matters that a citizen by law can keep in their bosom, because these are matters now of national security. Because based upon immediate antecedents, going back just 2 or 3 days prior, or a couple days prior, arising out of this same incident, hundreds of properties have been destroyed. Thousands of Guyanese have been discommoded. Millions and millions of dollars of public properties have been destroyed. Dozens of Guyanese have been beaten and robbed. Dozens or if not hundreds of private properties have been burnt and looted and robbed. So this is a matter of national security. No individual, whatever individual right to privacy of information that one may possess, would now, in this situation, must become subservient to the public interest, because national security is at stake. And it is against that backdrop that I made the call for Mr. Hughes to put forward information to the police force. The police made contact with Mr. Hughes also, because a lot of people shared the post and shared my comments. And the police made contact with Mr. Hughes. And you know what Mr. Hughes said? To the shock of many, Mr. Hughes said that whistleblower legislation is not in place, and therefore he cannot disclose the source of his information. Can you imagine that a man has information, a citizen has information of a national security nature, information that can preserve peace and public order, information that can prevent public disorder, and that citizen prefers to protect the source of that information rather than the public good. He prefers to protect that source than the lives of thousands of Guyanese who can be threatened or can be put in jeopardy if that information is not properly actioned. It can help to arrest those who are not only the intellectual authors of that design that caused the untold damage that I'm speaking about a few days prior, but can prevent the same or worse from reoccurring. And Mr. Hughes, when that choice was presented to him, chose his sources rather than acting in the public's interest. Now that matter is compounded manyfold when you take into account that this gentleman wants to be the president of this country, and he is the leader of a political party that is represented in the Parliament of Guyana. I will, as I said, do a separate program on this gentleman. But that, again, the same way he chose ExxonMobil and his own pecuniary interests over the public good and Guyanese in relation to oil and gas again, he decides to choose the side of some source that he thinks he must protect as a matter of priority over and above the tens of thousands of Guyanese whose lives can possibly be in jeopardy. I'm speaking slowly so that you are able to digest what I'm speaking about, because I have a lot of ground to cover in this one program, and I'll come back to these issues to amplify them on later programs. Not unsurprising, we heard a few hours later that the funeral was postponed or is being postponed. Not unsurprising. Then the nation is recovering from that news, we are met with another bizarre disclosure of an audio recording which purports to come from a person who said that she, it's a female voice, was in the room where the forensic examination took place, and she disagrees with the forensic examination. She says she was put there by Dr. Frank Anthony, the Minister of Health, and she, who we learned later to be not even a nurse, but a nurse aide or nurse assistant, she saw it fit to contradict the thorough and comprehensive forensic examination done by 3 distinguished and internationally acclaimed pathologists, and disputes their findings, and she is a nurse aide, a nursing assistant, not even a nurse. The minister obviously denied any knowledge. The minister doesn't even know her. And he said that publicly. Obviously, he didn't put anybody there. Fortunately, and the police issued a statement in which the police said, and you know, all of you know, that the entire process was videotaped. And the police said that they reviewed the video. And either this woman is a ghost, or she was not there. The doctor who represented the family was contacted by the police, and he said that she was not there. The lawyer who was representing the family, who was present in the room, also said that she was not there when he was contacted by the police. Journalists who videoed the people who went into the room and videoed who came out of the room, and apparently there are images on the social media and in the public domain of who those persons are. Those journalists have confirmed, obviously having examined their images, that this woman was not in the room. She is now in police custody, helping the police with the investigations. Now, you will note that she surrendered herself into custody, I think, today, during the course of today. No, yes, I think it was today or late last night, I can't remember. And you can guess which lawyer took her into custody. It's in the public domain. A lawyer from Hughes, Fields and Stobie, of all the law firms in the country, a lawyer who happens to be in the employ of Hughes, Fields and Stobie. I am not drawing any inferences. I am putting the facts out there. And you are intelligent people. You can come to your own conclusion. But let me revisit Mr. Hughes quickly before I conclude on that issue. Because, like how the nurse assistant wants to challenge or has challenged 3 eminent pathologists, they got a couple of persons who I don't like to disrespect people, and as a matter of policy, I don't. I try to be as kind as I possibly can to everyone. But I got a couple of people who would come on my page and want to argue law with me. I don't think that they're lawyers, because if they are, I don't know that they're lawyers. I don't know them. But they want to argue law with me. Now, I don't pretend to be in the category of those revered pathologists who came from different parts of the world. I don't pretend at all to be in that esteemed standing. But I know a little law. I know a little law. And these guys want to come and argue law with me. What duty does Nigel Hughes has to disclose this information to the police in law? Well, I've outlined to you the moral and political duty that I just explained to you. And the law is based upon morality, and it's based upon the public good. The law doesn't exist for no other reason but to maintain that which is good, that which is moral, that which is what we understand to be. That's what the law is about. So you won't find the law regularly conflicting with a position that is right. So you have a common law duty. Every citizen has a common law duty, meaning long before you start to pass legislation, you had a common law duty to assist the police in their investigations. You have a common law duty to report a crime when you see one. And there are many provisions in our criminal law statutes that compel you to make information available to the police that you may have in your possession if it relates to criminal conduct. To report a crime also when you see one, or when you are aware of one. And the Constitution, our supreme law, Article 32, says, and let me quote it for you, it is the joint duty of the state, the society, and every citizen to combat and prevent crime and other violations of the law, and to take care of and protect public property. You can go and read the article for yourself, Article 32 of the Constitution. It imposes a duty on the state, the society, and every citizen to combat and prevent crime and other violations of the law, and to take care of and protect public property. What is likely to happen, or what was likely to happen, if there was an infiltration of the funeral, as Mr. Hughes claims he had information in respect of, right? Instigate violence, meaning crimes would have been committed. Instigating violence, it means crimes would have been committed. It means there would have been damage to property. That is what the Constitution says. When you have that, you have a duty to combat that, to prevent that from happening. But Mr. Hughes, rather than comply with this constitutional prescription, and the Constitution, it is the duty, the joint duty. You don't have a discretion in the matter, it is your duty. Rather than discharge the constitutional duty imposed, Mr. Hughes chooses to protect some nebulous source. But as I said, we'll delve into that another time. I am running out of time because there's so much issues that I want to deal with. Now, a lot of persons have raised issues, well, not raised issues, but not a lot of persons, a few persons, and they are all aligned one political way. They have a problem with the charge of terrorism. They have a problem with the charge of terrorism. Well, if you stand on the side of the scrapes, if you stand on the side of the thugs, and you say that you will embrace the thugs and the scrapes, if you say that that is your position, then you must oppose the charge of terrorism. When we sought to strengthen our electoral laws, to prevent what happened in 2020 from reoccurring this coming elections, who opposed us? Not you, who not in the business of rigging and stealing elections. Those who are democratic and who would want democracy to prevail and want orderly and free and transparent elections to take place will not be opposed to measures that are designed to strengthen the electoral process and make it more transparent. No. It's only the electoral miscreants, only the electoral bandits would have a problem. So the opposition were in opposition to the election amendments. Well, again, look, and you point out to me one Guyanese of stature outside of the political realm who have been critical of the charge, and you will not find one. They are saying that this is not terrorism. Well, my friend, since 2002, we amended our law to include in the law, in the Criminal Law Offences Act, a terrorist act and make it an offense since 2002. And I went back into the Hansard and I looked at the speeches, great speeches by those who presented the bill. And it was intended in 2002 to address the very type of issues, the very type of factual situations that we have seen unfolding as a result of this tragedy. In 2002, there was rampant burning and looting of business premises across the country, in particular in Georgetown. There was burning of the roadways with tires and other materials, and the beating and robbing of commuters, the murder of commuters, the murder of businessmen. In 2002, it was the crime wave at its worst. And the government could not have stood idly by. And they put that amendment to the Parliament, and the Parliament passed it. And that amendment was intended to deal with the very type of situation that we saw. The Chinese supermarkets that were being invaded and burnt and looted. the public roads of the country where people were being beaten and robbed. Even the vagrants, the other private properties and state properties that are being defaced and desecrated and burnt and damaged. That is exactly what I saw. That's what you saw. So our parliament, since 2002, passed an amendment to capture that, to deal with that very unfolding type of events. And it was appropriately used, in my respectful view, to charge those who attempted to rain terror across this land. And let me tell you, let me read what it says. I cut out just for the benefit of you. It's a long section, so I trimmed the unnecessary parts. And tell me if this is not what happened, if this charge is not appropriate. Whoever, with intent to strike terror in the people or any section of the people, does any act or thing by any means whatsoever in such a manner as to cause or likely to cause death of or injuries to any person or persons, or loss of or damage to or destruction of property, commits a terrorist act. Which part of this here is excessive? Whosoever with the intent to strike terror in people, when you light the road afire and you robbing everybody that passing the road, when you go in people's supermarket and you rob everybody in the supermarket and the supermarket itself, when you got cutlass walking on the road and you chopping vagrants on the road, what you intend to do if not to strike terror in people in such a manner as to cause or likely to cause death of or injuries to any persons? What you intend to do if you're not intending to kill or to cause injuries to persons or loss or damage or destruction of property? Once you do those things, the law says that you have committed a terrorist act. Now let us go to define what is terror. Because I say anyone, the law says anyone who, with the intent to strike terror. Let us go to your ordinary dictionary, your English dictionary rather, to get the ordinary grammatical meaning of the word to strike, terror. Well, I've checked the Cambridge dictionary. You may have the Oxford dictionary. You may have Collins dictionary. Use the Google dictionary on your phone. And you will see terror is defined as 1, extreme fear or state of fear. Extreme fear or a state of fear. When those people can't go home and when the road is lit, when acid is being thrown at school children, when people's private property is invaded and set afire, is there not extreme fear or a state of fear? That is definition number 1. Definition number 2, intense or overwhelming fear. Intense or overwhelming fear. You go and ask the people who are the victims. Ask the people who are in the roadways, on the roadways, in the lines, in the properties that are being robbed. Ask them if they didn't experience intense and overwhelming fear. And the third definition, violent actions or threats designed to cause fear among ordinary people. Violent actions or threats designed to cause fear among ordinary people. Were they not violent actions? Were they not threats? Were they not designed to cause fear among ordinary people? I didn't see any big shot politician there. I saw the ordinary people that were the subject of fear, subject of terror. People, I was on the road until 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. I was on Annandale Public Road, where persons couldn't pass because between Annandale and Buxton, they lit the road afire. Persons couldn't pass. They had to come back to Georgetown and sleep at different places along the East Coast. You think those people were not fearful when they drove up there and they saw marauding gangs with cutlass in their hands? They had face masks. And that is not fear. That is not terror. So I say to those who say that this is the wrong charge, I say to them, we couldn't find a better charge. There could not have been a more appropriate charge. But I want to share something with you that I got from the Caribbean. Now, I got to hurry up because time is running out. Now, you know that at the Caribbean level, we are dealing with criminal violence, which at the level of CARICOM's leadership, at the leadership level of CARICOM, they have deemed it a public health hazard. They have deemed it that it's endemic in the Caribbean. Gang violence and all the other things. And they have set up different committees to look at various measures to address the issue of violent crimes in the Caribbean. And one of the subcommittees established by CARICOM, and I have the document here, I can release it to the press. It is a meeting, it's a subcommittee set up at the 48th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads. I had the privilege of attending a couple of these meetings. And they have already generated a preliminary report. And I want to read what the report says. The report says member states across CARICOM are experiencing an escalation of indiscriminate, reckless shootings and acts of violence being committed in public spaces, where innocent bystanders, including women and children, are caught in gunfire and fatally injured. A draft paper has been prepared which provides options for the consideration of CARICOM member states on how to effectively legislate to designate certain indiscriminate acts of violence and criminality committed in public space as acts of terror and efficiently bring to justice the perpetrator of such acts of terror. The paper proposes two options which are based on the practice of Commonwealth jurisdictions. One, to incorporate the crime within the definition of terrorist act under existing terrorism legislation or other legislation, or to develop new legislation for standard crimes that deal with terrorist actions. At the CARICOM level, they are now going to do what we did in 2002. We are 22 years or more ahead of CARICOM on this matter. Because we have inserted since 2002 into our criminal law legislation a provision that deals with terrorist act in public places. That is what the CARICOM is now moving into. We are 22 years ahead of them. So those who are saying that this is the wrong charge, I say to you that CARICOM is emulating Guyana in this regard. And we are proud to lead by example on this matter, as we are leading on so many fronts in the Caribbean and elsewhere. I want to deal quickly with a press release that was drawn to my attention quite recently. I mean, just like an hour before. And I want to clarify a couple of things. The press release comes from the PNC. And it accuses a sitting magistrate somewhere in West Coast, Berbice, of being under the political control of the People's Progressive Party. It says that the statement says that the magistrate released somebody who was appearing, and the statement says that the person is a known PPP activist, and that the magistrate was instructed by Sonia Parag, our local government minister, the magistrate was instructed by Sonia Parag to release the person. I want to make a couple things clear quickly. Sonia Parag has issued a statement already denying that she knows anything about this incident. Secondly, and this is the important point I want to make, the judiciary will deal with the attack on the administration of justice by the PNC. The judiciary will deal with that, because this is a direct attack on the administration of justice. Sonia Parag has been advised to consult her lawyers, and she will take private actions against the PNC for tarnishing her character and accusing her of interfering and obstructing justice. But what this press release creates the impression, the press release creates the impression that this person on whose behalf Sonia Parag is alleged to have intervened for was charged with this terrorist offense, and the magistrate granted him bail. That is not so. My inquiries have revealed that this person was charged since sometime, but over 2 years ago, with some assault case, some assault charge. But they wrote the news article in such a way that they said that the magistrate has remanded 2 persons on terrorism charge, but granted bail to the PPP person. This person that they're referring to was not charged with any terrorism offense. This person was charged with assault, a highly bailable offense that occurred some 2 years ago, but just happened to be in court the day that the 2 persons, or how many persons were charged with terrorism, appeared before the said magistrate. So I just want to clarify that. Sonia Parag has issued a detailed statement on which she has set out her position on this matter. But I just wanted to clarify, lest it be confused, that this person was charged with terrorism offenses and the magistrate put the person on bail. That is not so. The charge here was one of assault, I'm told, and it arose out of an incident that happened 2 years ago. So there is no connection between this person and the terrorism charge or charges, and no connection between this person and the events that led to the terrorism charge. And Sonia Parag has said publicly, and she has issued a statement, that there is no connection between her and the allegations. She has denied absolutely the allegations that they are making against her. She doesn't know this magistrate, never spoke to this magistrate, and she is suing them. You see, as we come down to election time, as we get closer to elections, we will have more and more of these statements and these reckless outbursts coming. We'll have more and more of them. And we have to reply, or else we will be overwhelmed by them. They have a couple of people who want turmoil in this country. Obviously, the one in Arizona, I am convinced is completely insane. Is insane. I don't listen to these people, but I suppose as Attorney General, people send me clips with all these lunatics shouting and screaming at the top of their voices. Someone sent me a clip where this Arizona man he is calling for thousands of persons like this nurse assistant to come out and spread the type of rumor that she's spreading. He doesn't care whether they lie or whether they say the truth. This man is responsible largely for many of the people in the lockups, He is singularly responsible for them. He is encouraging them to do these things, and we'll have to look at him differently. The state, the authorized state agencies will have to review what he's saying. But the point I want to tell Guyanese is that he lives in the comfort of the United States, He doesn't live here. So when he finished his rantings, his inane rantings, when he finishes them and he exhausts himself, because the man, he enjoys this thing. I look at him and, as people are being beaten, he gets orgasmic. He enjoys this thing at a different level. You could see glee in his eyes and in his voice. He gets totally excited, an excitement of a different type when these things happen. When he finishes, he gone to sleep. He goes to work next day wherever he works, and he comes back. He's totally unaffected by what goes on here. On the other hand, the people who he's preaching to got to go to jail. They got to deal with all the problems that he's encouraging them to do, while he continues his life in the United States. He breaks for an hour. He does whatever he does on the Facebook there, excites himself all over again, and then he gone to sleep again, and those who are listening to him are left in turmoil. They are in the jail, they are in the lockups, their parents in problems, and so on. So, it's a matter for you if you want to continue listening to these people. I have already, a long time now, and those who know me personally have asked about this gentleman, and I said the man is insane. The man is mad. There is no doubt in my mind about that. So, I have finished the hour, and my operator is signaling to me that I have now passed program time. I want to thank you very much. I think we have had a very wholesome and thorough program. I have dealt with many important issues that I would have liked to deal with. I think that I've completed my task, and I hope that I provided you with some information. And as I said, I try to make this program educational. We need to educate each other. And to bring to fore a lot of issues that are being swept under the carpet. So that's what this program is about. It's about education. It's about public information. I want to thank you very much for being with me over the last hour or so. And I will see you next week when we resume our discussion. In the meanwhile, please enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the week. And may God bless you. Thank you.